My name is Logan Vance, and I am about to tell you how my wife's family tried to steal $16.8 million from me, and how their own prenuptial agreement became the weapon that destroyed them. 11 months ago, I was sleeping in a Hampton Inn, wondering how 9 years of marriage could disappear the moment real money showed up. Today, I own Vance Construction, the fastest growing contractor in San Diego, California. The secret weapon? A prenuptial agreement that old real estate money forced me to sign, thinking it would protect them forever. But I am getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. Back when I thought marrying into the Harrington family was the American dream. I am 43 years old, and until 11 months ago, I thought I had life figured out. I had spent 20 years climbing from a framer, making $12 an hour, to senior project manager at San Diego Premier Construction, pulling in a steady $92,000 a year. Nothing fancy by California standards, but enough to keep my wife Clara and me comfortable in our modest three-bedroom house near Balboa Park. My specialty was luxury condos in the La Jolla area, managing teams of 65 guys, coordinating with architects, keeping million-dollar projects on schedule. When you are building a 24-story tower, every single detail matters. One mistake in the foundation and the whole thing comes down. I had learned that lesson the hard way on a job in 2019 when a subcontractor poured concrete before the rebar inspection. It cost us 3 weeks and $150,000 to fix. That attention to detail, documenting everything, following protocols, never cutting corners, would serve me well in the legal battle ahead. Clara and I had been married for 9 years. She was beautiful, sophisticated, and came from the kind of old California money that built downtown San Diego back when the shipping ports were expanding. Her family, the Harringtons, owned half the commercial real estate between the Gaslamp Quarter and the waterfront. They never thought a blue-collar guy like me was good enough for their precious daughter. They made that crystal clear when they insisted I sign a prenuptial agreement before our wedding in December 2017. It is just to protect the family assets. Julian Harrington, call him Jules, had explained in his lawyer's office on Broadway Avenue. Nothing personal, Logan, just business. I signed it without much thought. Love makes you do foolish things, and I was head over heels for Clara. The prenuptial agreement seemed straightforward. What was theirs stayed theirs, what was mine stayed mine, and anything we acquired together during marriage would be considered community property under California law. Simple enough, right? Gentlemen, before I tell you how a construction worker outsmarted real estate money, smash that subscribe button. Trust me, you will want to see how this plays out. The Harrington family mansion in Coronado was like something out of a movie. 8,000 square feet of stucco and arrogance overlooking the bay. Every time we visited for Sunday dinner, I felt like I was applying for a job I would never get. Julian collected vintage Rolex watches and memberships to clubs that had waiting lists longer than construction permits. His prized piece was a 1953 Submariner, worth more than my annual salary. Eleanor, Clara's mother, organized charity galas for causes she could not pronounce but could certainly tax deduct. And Dominic, Clara's older brother, had never worked a day in his life but somehow held the title of vice president at Harrington Properties. For 9 years they tolerated me. Barely. I was the construction guy their daughter married during her rebellious phase. They figured I would eventually get tired of their world, or she would get tired of mine. Clara worked part-time as a curator at Contemporary San Diego, earning about $31,000 a year. More for passion than necessity, her trust fund made sure she never wanted for anything. We talked about kids someday, maybe buying a bigger house. Normal married couple stuff. She had one quirk that drove me crazy. Every week, she would spend $50 on lottery tickets at the Ralph's on Rosecrans Street. Same numbers every time, family birthdays, anniversaries, the date we met. Someday, she would always joke, these numbers are going to make us rich. That money came out of our joint account at San Diego Credit Union. $50 a week for 9 years. I did the math once. Over $23,000 in lottery tickets. I used to tease her about it. Honey, that is a down payment on a mountain cabin, I would say. Just wait, she would respond. When we hit it big, you will thank me. I should have paid more attention to that word, we. It was about to become the most important word in my life. November 15th, 2024, a Thursday. I remember because I was reviewing blueprints for a new high-rise in downtown San Diego, 24 stories, $45 million project, when Clara called at 4:17 in the afternoon, screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Logan! Oh my God, Logan, we won! We actually won! I thought she meant she had won some art contest at the museum. Maybe a $50 gift card to a local coffee shop. Won what, honey? The lottery. The big one. $16.8 million. I drove home in my Ford F-150 so fast, I am lucky the police did not pull me over. I found Clara in our kitchen, dancing around with a lottery ticket in her hand, tears streaming down her face. $16.8 million. After federal taxes, California does not tax lottery winnings. It came to about $11.2 million. I stared at that ticket, bought at 3:42 in the afternoon according to the timestamp, paid for with our San Diego Credit Union debit card, ending in 7,439. The same account we had used for every lottery ticket for 9 years. For about 30 minutes, I thought our dreams had come true. Clara was already on the phone with her parents, shrieking with joy. "Mom! Dad, we did it! We actually did it! We are rich, Logan!" She shouted, throwing her arms around me. "We are actually rich!" That same evening, the entire Harrington family showed up at our house. Julian, Eleanor, Dominic, even Clara's snobbish Aunt Beatrice, who usually pretended I did not exist. They brought champagne, Dom Perignon, $300 a bottle, flowers, the works. But something felt off from the moment they walked in. The way they looked at me had changed. It was subtle at first. Sideways glances, conversations that stopped when I entered the room. Clara seemed different too. Distant, like she was seeing me for the first time and did not like what she saw. "We need to be smart about this," Julian kept saying, swirling his champagne. "This kind of money requires proper management. Financial advisors, legal protection. Family money needs family oversight," Eleanor added, shooting me a cold look. Over the next 3 days, it got worse. Clara started having long private phone calls with her family. She would leave the room when I approached, speaking in hushed tones. When I asked about our plans for the money, maybe pay off the house, start that construction company I had always dreamed of, she became evasive. "We need to think this through, Logan. My father knows people. We cannot just go spending it like we won a church raffle." Our money had become her money real quick, and her family did not seem to include me. November 18th, 2024, 3 days after winning. Clara asked me to come home early from the job site. She said we needed to talk about our future. I walked into our living room and found the entire Harrington family waiting. Julian in his expensive Italian suit, Eleanor clutching her designer bag, Dominic smirking by the window like he knew a secret I did not. Clara looked nervous. That should have been my first red flag. "Logan," Clara began, her voice unnaturally formal. "We need to discuss our situation." Julian cleared his throat. "Son, this lottery win changes things. Clara's windfall needs proper protection." "Our windfall," I corrected. "We are married. Community property, right?" The room went silent. You could have heard a pin drop on those expensive hardwood floors. "Actually, Logan," Julian continued, "that is not exactly how this works. You see, lottery winnings can be considered separate property in certain cases, especially when the family assets are protected." Clara finally spoke up. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Logan, I think we should separate for a while. I felt like I had been hit by a falling timber." "What?" "The money, it is mine," she said. "I picked the numbers. I bought the ticket. She could not meet my eyes. I want you to move out. Tonight." Julian leaned forward. "The prenuptial agreement you signed protects both parties, Logan. Clara's lottery win is her separate property. You are not entitled to any of it." I sat there stunned. 9 years of marriage, and they were throwing me away like scrap metal. The final blow came the next morning. When I arrived at the job site, my boss Oscar Miller called me into his trailer. He looked sick. "Logan, I am sorry," he said, avoiding my gaze. Julian Harrington called the owner of our firm. Harrington Properties represents 90% of our upcoming contracts. "They told us if we do not fire you today, they are pulling all their business. I am forced to let you go." I was officially homeless, wifeless, and jobless. I moved into a Hampton Inn near the airport that night, paying $125 per night, room 247. But instead of crying, I got to work. I spent 3 sleepless nights in that Hampton Inn hotel room, laptop open, researching California family code until my eyes burned. 20 years managing large-scale construction projects had taught me one thing: documentation beats emotion every single time. I started with the absolute basics of family law, looking up California Family Code Section 3.003, which establishes the legal presumption that any property acquired by either spouse during the course of a marriage is community property. Then I dug deeper into the specific statutes that govern financial behavior during marriage. Under California Family Code Section 721, a husband and wife are subject to the highest fiduciary duties of good faith and fair dealing in the management and control of their community assets. This statute explicitly compares the marital relationship to a business partnership, stating that neither spouse can take unfair advantage of the other. Section 1100 further states that each spouse has equal management and control of the community property, meaning that hiding money or excluding a spouse from a major financial asset is a direct violation of the law. To build my case, I needed proof that the lottery ticket was purchased with community assets. I logged into my online portal and downloaded 9 full years of bank statements from San Diego Credit Union. Every statement was a painful reminder of how much effort we had put into building a life, $50 at a time. The credit union records were clear, detailing the merchant name as California Lottery and the transaction channel as point of sale at the Rosecrans grocery store. I spent hours building a detailed spreadsheet, cataloging every single $50 transaction. It was a tedious process, but I traced every weekly purchase. November 15, 2024, $50 lottery purchase. Debit card ending in 7,439, timestamped at 3:42 in the afternoon. November 8, 2024, $50 purchase, same card, 2:15 in the afternoon. November 1st, 2024, $50 purchase, same card, 4:33 in the afternoon. I went back year by year, documenting a clear, unbroken pattern of $50 weekly purchases from our joint checking account. All community funds, all documented. But I could not fight this alone. I needed a professional who knew how to handle high-asset divorces. After researching several firms, I hired Gideon Thorne. He was a veteran attorney and former law professor with 25 years of experience fighting corporate lawyers. His consultation fee was $600, and his retainer was $22,000. I had to borrow against my retirement account and max out 3 credit cards to pay it, but it was the best investment I ever made. We met in his downtown office overlooking the bay. "Mr. Vance," he said, gesturing to a leather chair, "tell me about this prenuptial agreement." I handed him the 9-page document. Gideon read through it slowly, his expression growing more focused with each page. "This is fascinating," he said, pointing to a specific clause on page 4. Section 3.7 states that any prizes, winnings, or awards acquired during the course of marriage shall be considered community property subject to equal distribution upon dissolution. Gideon smiled. "Mr. Vance, your in-laws just handed you the blueprint to their own destruction. By attempting to conceal the lottery winnings and forcing you out, your wife has committed a material breach of fiduciary duty under Section 721 and Section 1100. Under California Family Code Section 1101, we can sue for remedies including 50% of the asset plus attorney's fees." The Harringtons did not waste any time. Within 48 hours of Clara filing for divorce on November 20th, they hired Pierce & Associates, the most expensive family law firm in San Diego. Carlton Pierce himself took the case. He charged $1,100 per hour and was famous for protecting wealthy clients' estates. Pierce was everything you would expect: expensive suits, an office on the top floor of a downtown skyscraper, and a reputation for intimidating working-class defendants. He immediately began sending threatening letters to my hotel room. "Mr. Vance," one letter read, "your frivolous claims regarding Mrs. Vance's separate property lottery winnings constitute harassment. We demand you cease these baseless assertions immediately or face sanctions." They thought I would roll over. Meanwhile, Clara was documenting her new lifestyle on social media. She posted photos of her new white Tesla Model X, which cost $95,000, purchased on November 28th. She shared photos of designer shopping sprees, a weekend trip to Napa Valley with first-class flights and $500 a night luxury hotels. She even posted the receipt for her $850,000 deposit on a luxury condo downtown. She was spending our money like it was water, and her social media was documenting every single transaction. It was perfect evidence of community property commingling and breach of fiduciary duty. The divorce proceedings began in earnest on December 2, 2024. Carlton Pierce came out swinging, filing motions to dismiss my claims and painting me as a gold digger trying to exploit a wealthy family. His strategy was simple: bury me in paperwork and bleed me dry with legal fees. Motion to dismiss for lack of standing. Motion to compel arbitration. Motion for summary judgment. Each motion required Gideon Thorne to draft a detailed response, and each response cost me thousands of dollars. They are following the standard corporate playbook, Gideon explained during a strategy session in late December. Make it so expensive for you to continue that you will take whatever small settlement they offer. But Gideon was methodical, and we refused to back down. We subpoenaed bank records showing years of lottery ticket purchases from our joint account. We documented Clara's spending spree, proving she had mixed the lottery money with community assets. The discovery phase was brutal. Pierce fought every subpoena, claimed attorney-client privilege on financial documents that clearly were not privileged, and filed motion after motion to delay the court dates. Your legal bills are already at $28,000. Gideon warned me during a January meeting. If this goes to trial, we are looking at $45,000 minimum. Carlton Pierce charges $1,100 an hour, and he is billing every phone call, every email, every minute. I had invested everything I had in this fight. My retirement was tapped out, my credit cards maxed. I was living on cheap diner lunches and gas station coffee, but I would rather go broke fighting than live the rest of my life knowing I gave up. Then came the breakthrough that changed everything. Logan, Gideon said during a phone call on January 15, 2025. I found something. Carlton Pierce made a critical error. In his haste to file preliminary motions in December, he actually acknowledged in court documents that the lottery ticket was purchased during the marriage with community funds. He signed and filed this under penalty of perjury. I felt my heart racing. What does that mean? It means he just destroyed his own case. Pierce is so used to intimidating working-class defendants into settlements, he got sloppy with his paperwork. It was a breathtaking moment of corporate incompetence that gave us the upper hand. Pierce, in his arrogance, assumed that a project manager from a construction company would not have the intelligence to examine the specific wording of a preliminary motion. He thought he could write whatever he wanted to satisfy his client's immediate anger, but under California civil procedure, those words became a binding judicial admission which cannot be easily retracted. The filing was right there in black and white, signed by Carlton Pierce himself. The lottery ticket in question was purchased during the marriage with community funds from the parties' joint account. Gideon was almost giddy. I have been doing this for 25 years, and I have never seen a high-priced attorney hand me their client's case like this. By February, the Harringtons were getting nervous. The settlement offers started coming. February 8th, $800,000. Take it and walk away clean, Julian said during a phone call. That is more money than you will see in a lifetime. I will think about it, I replied. February 22nd, $1.5 million. Be reasonable, Logan. That is generational wealth for a working man. March 5th, $2.8 million. Pierce himself called this time. Mr. Vance, my client is prepared to make a final offer. $2.8 million. Take it, or we will bury you in legal fees and appeals that could drag on for years. See you in court, I said, and hung up. By early March, they were getting desperate. They hired a private investigator to follow me around, hoping to find dirt. He documented my trips to local hardware stores, my lunch at a diner, my evening walks. They found nothing. I had lived a clean life. Next, they tried claiming I had been emotionally abusive, hoping to reduce my settlement. Clara gave a deposition claiming I had been controlling. Problem was, they had no evidence, no police reports, no medical records, no witnesses. Gideon demolished their claims with phone records showing Clara had made all the major financial decisions. Bank statements proved I had never controlled her access to money. 3 days before trial, Clara showed up at my hotel room. She looked tired. "Logan, please," she begged. "We can work this out." I was scared, okay? The money overwhelmed me. My family got in my head. "I will give you $4.2 million, she said, more than half. No more lawyers. No more court dates. I looked directly at Clara. It was never about the money, Clara. It was about respect. She left crying March 22nd, 2025. San Diego County Family Court, Courtroom 3. Judge Olivia Rodriguez presiding. Judge Rodriguez was a 15-year veteran of the family court bench, known for her thorough preparation and no-nonsense approach. She had seen every trick and had little patience for legal gamesmanship. The courthouse was packed. Word had gotten out about the case: construction worker versus real estate moguls. News crews from local stations were stationed outside. Blue-collar battles, real estate Goliath was the morning headline. I wore my best suit, a navy blue from Men's Warehouse that I had bought for our wedding 9 years earlier. The irony was not lost on me. This was the same suit I had worn when I promised to love Clara for richer or poorer. Clara sat with her family on one side of the courtroom, looking pale. Julian in his expensive suit, Eleanor clutching her bag, Dominic checking his watch. Carlton Pierce whispered urgently in Clara's ear. Judge Rodriguez took her seat at exactly 9 o'clock. "We are here for the matter of Vance versus Vance, case number 2025 FAM 000847. Mr. Pierce, your opening statement." Pierce stood confidently, but I noticed his hand shaking slightly. He knew what was coming. "Your Honor, this case is about a vindictive husband attempting to steal money he had no part in earning. Mrs. Vance selected those numbers. She purchased that ticket with her own intuition. She won that prize through her own luck." He gestured toward me. "Mr. Vance is attempting to exploit a technicality." Gideon Thorne stood slowly. "Your Honor, this case is remarkably simple. We have a prenuptial agreement signed by both parties in December 2017 that explicitly states any prizes or winnings acquired during marriage are community property. We have California Family Code Section 721 and Section 1100, which establish that spouses owe each other the highest fiduciary duty. By concealing the winnings, attempting to exclude her husband, and spending community funds on luxury items, the defendant committed a material breach of fiduciary duty. Furthermore, the defendant's own attorney acknowledged in written court filings, under penalty of perjury, that the ticket was purchased with community funds. The evidence was devastating. Gideon presented bank records showing years of lottery ticket purchases. He showed how Clara had commingled the lottery winnings, the Tesla purchase, the condo deposit. Pierce's cross-examination was weak. He tried to argue that Clara had intended to keep the winnings separate. But intention does not matter when you have already mixed the money and violated California Family Code, Section 721. Judge Rodriguez recessed for lunch and delivered her decision at 2:15 in the afternoon. The prenuptial agreement signed in December 2017 is clear and unambiguous. Section 3.7 explicitly states that any prizes or winnings acquired during marriage are community property. California Family Code Section 721 supports this interpretation. Furthermore, the defendant's actions in commingling the lottery winnings with community assets and concealing them from her husband constitute a clear breach of fiduciary duty under Section 1100. In California, we honor contracts. The defendant cannot now claim that her own prenuptial agreement does not mean what it plainly says. Judge Rodriguez looked at me. "Mr. Vance, I am awarding you 50% of the net lottery winnings, totaling $5.6 million. Additionally, due to the defendant's bad faith and material breach of fiduciary duty under California Family Code Section 1101, I am ordering the defendant to pay all of your attorney's fees." Clara started crying. The Harrington family looked sick. The gavel came down with a satisfying thud. 6 months later, in September 2025, I used part of my settlement to buy San Diego Premier Construction from my boss, Oscar Miller, who was ready to retire. I renamed Advanced Construction. Today, we employ 41 people and specialize in affordable housing. But the story does not end there. Julian and Dominic's company, Harrington Properties, was building a major commercial waterfront project and faced a severe cash flow crisis. They had hired my firm to handle the framing and structural work. To get the project done on time and avoid a $5 million late penalty from their developers, they needed my specialized crew. However, I noticed they had failed to pay our last 3 invoices, totaling $420,000. Citing their material breach of contract, I pulled my entire crew off the site. Without my men, Harrington Properties defaulted on their contract, faced massive foreclosure from their lenders, and went bankrupt. At the bankruptcy auction, I purchased their prime waterfront real estate assets for pennies on the dollar. Clara had to sell her Tesla, return the deposit on her condo, and liquidate her luxury purchases to pay me. She now works at a small office, living in a modest apartment. Julian sold his vintage Rolexes to pay his bills. Sometimes, the best revenge is just letting greedy people face the consequences of their own actions. They created the weapon that destroyed them. I just had the dignity to use it.